I often see comments under my videos about people claiming that immigrants are to be blamed for housing crisis, and I think it's a mainstream narrative, really. I mean, as much as they like immigration, right? They like to blame things on us. That's just the way they operate. So, they're going to tell you that immigration is great. You can't say anything bad about immigrants, right? How dare you? But then they say, oh, look, housing crisis, it's because immigrants. And, thinking about this, because it makes sense, at least from the outside. You think like, hang on, so these people are coming here and they're renting houses and there's finite, numbers of houses. Therefore, you and an immigrant are competing for the same house. Therefore, the demand is high. And then the landlords, evil landlords, are putting prices up. And somehow the immigrants are taking houses from you. And it sounds like it makes sense, but it doesn't. And I'm going to tell you quickly why. But I'm also going to tell you why I think this is a bigger problem with the ownership of, with the assets, the way they are, like what we are now using, I say as globally, as investment vehicles, right? And I think that is the biggest problem, together with that kind of thinking, which is very typical, especially in the UK, because we have two political parties system, and the same now even in Poland. I remember that back in the day there was like 5-6 parties constantly changing. They would have to compete against each other for voters. Right now it's just like left or right, this or that, right? You are for or against, and that is very, in my opinion, is very damaging for the country, and it's part of the problem we are in with the immigration and everything else. But I'm going to tell you about this in a second. Let me say quickly about the myth of the housing, and like we feel, at least I see these comments under the videos and I see it in the media, like there is this kind of unrelated problem. Like the problem is only here in the UK, and because we let so many immigrants in, which I want to make it clear, I'm not here to speak about for like immigration. I am more like I'm trying to be the balanced voice, maybe, because I think there's a lot of people like myself who are just like, look, we don't want any illegal immigration. That is insanity. I think it should be strict rules for immigrants coming in, but making no immigrants coming in, it's also not, I think it's insane. And I feel like there's a lot, obviously I see my channel growing a lot, so it's confirmation for me that there's a lot of people like myself, somewhere in between. And because I'm an immigrant, it's easier for me to speak about this and maybe just be a little bit voice of you guys, natives and immigrants, right, who feel the same way. So that is, I'm saying, I'm not saying we should bring more people. I'm happy to close everything and just pause it and just rethink. Maybe let's check where we really are, all these things, right? And just no illegal immigration, which is absolutely insane. But that is not the reason for this channel or my video. I just wanted to make it clear, especially for the new viewers, right? So welcome. So you might get this kind of feeling that because of this immigration challenge in the UK, which is just here, and we have these prices going up through the roof. But it's not the case. You see, the housing crisis is global crisis, okay? It's going on everywhere. Like some of you guys are claiming, I'm Polish, right? So some of you saying, oh, you should go to Poland because it's nice and safe, because there is no immigration problem, or at least wasn't up until recently, right? To a degree where we have here in the UK and in the West. But the housing crisis is exactly the same as it is in the UK, you see. We have way less immigrants, or we've had up until now. But the houses just the prices went so, through the roof as well. We Polish people can't afford houses, the families, right? It's extremely expensive. And the same thing goes all over Europe, all over the Americas. It goes in Asia. I have family in Asia. I know things there as well. Like goes in Japan, in Tokyo. And I mean, Japan is one of the most, I think, close culture, right? It's like, again, up until recently at least. So it's not immigration which is driving the housing crisis, right? It's about the pricing and how we see houses. And when I see us, I'm not talking about you and me, because I'm not a landlord. I don't have any properties. I'm not part of it, as I expect. Not even you, because I tell you exactly what the problem is. Like, it's not the average person, right? When I say we say the way the system works globally. And the system works like, because we are in such a trouble, in such bad shape financially across the whole planet, debt-driven economy, to got to the point where it's unbearable to actually, we can't live anymore properly, like normally. So the big companies, massive global organizations and corporations, they have so much free cash around that they're starting to invest money, and they invest obviously in housing because housing became commodity and asset. And this is the number one reason why everything is wrong, in my opinion, because as I said in my previous video, and I say, like, for example, the safety is one of the main basic human needs, same as food, shelter, clothing. So shelter, housing, it should not be a commodity. We shouldn't be investing in houses. Okay, it's so backwards. It's so against ourselves when you think about this, right? So if you got this corporation and they want to invest and they go invest in housing, they're basically betting against people, which is it's completely insane when you think about this, right? So when we see houses as an investment opportunity because the currency is getting weaker and weaker, and keeping money in the bank account makes no sense because the longer you keep it, the less you can buy it. There's less power behind it. Then all these corporations, all these big organizations, they're just investing. They're looking for places to invest that money. And housing is one of the best because it's stable. It's going to be there next 15 years more likely. You're going to have other people who are willing to buy it or rent it, and so it's a kind of safe investment, right? But that is a backward thinking because housing should be it should. I don't know how exactly. I don't have a system around it, but it shouldn't be an option to investment, right? It shouldn't be investable like vehicle for investments, right? It should be no different to investing, I don't know, in Apple or something like that. But even though, you see, because that's another part of it. Like we got to the point where now companies are investing in water supply and food, right? It's like all the basic needs for human to live, to survive, for all of us are starting to become assets, okay? And that is very slippery slope. This is exactly what is wrong with the society everywhere, and it's not just the UK, because we can't privatize water supplies, okay? We shouldn't be like, there's an argument saying, oh, because we need to maintain this water, deliver that water, all that. We will do it happily for ourselves, right? We're paying taxes for something, right? That should be paid for. So we actually have a water for which is plenty around the planet. It's a God-given gift to us, or whatever you call it, but it's a part of the planet we are in, same as food. So the housing should be seen the similar way, because it's not like, okay, I choose to have a house. If I don't choose, then I'll be fine. Like, no, I need to have a house in order to be alive. I can't not to have a house. I'm going to live in a forest somewhere, build a shelter or something. It's impossible, right? It's the basic human need. So if we foresee it as an investment, it's an evil, backward system, which we are unfortunately part of it. And this goes again with the education, health, food, healthcare, all the needs. So it's very cheeky, right? Very, very evil, because these are the things we can't live without. And these people are coming in and they're going to claim, oh, it's a free market. We just want to invest. And look, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm for free market, but we haven't seen a proper free market for decades. What we're seeing now is it's a freak market, okay? And we have these corporations coming here and telling us that our basic needs can be sold back to us, right? They cover our basic need, and we're just going to sell it back to you, and we're going to charge you interest on top of that, and it's going to be great. And this is all wrong. And they're trying to hide behind these nice slogans, and we're going to do it for you. We're going to maintain the houses. Like, no, we don't need that. Maybe like 10% of housing, maybe the top super luxury housing could be this way, because like, look, I'm not going to live in that house, most likely, not you. Most people, we just want to have a house for the family, right? Normal house, which is kind of normal quality house for family, for us to stay and so we can sleep and we can go about our lives. So it's not like we don't ask for too much, right? But it's so expensive that it became too much to actually ask for. And now, of course, we have a blame put on immigrants, right? So when you see somebody saying it's an immigrant fault, like, I get it where you get it from idea from, but it's wrong, because you're not competing against your housing with the next door foreigner or your friend or family member or whatever. No, you're competing against a BlackRock or some like global, huge organizations and companies with unlimited supply of money, and they telling you that what you should think in order so you don't see them spending that money for you, right? And if you see like the immigration is very visible, it's easy to spot immigrants, right? Obviously, again, please bear in mind, I'm not talking about what's happening in London, Epping Forest and all these like hotels, for me, that is a total insanity. I don't want to talk about this here right now. We all know, understand it's illegal. That's it. It's illegal. That therefore should be dealt with. But looking about the average person, like there is no. Do you know any immigrants owning more than one house? Because I don't. Like really, I don't. Right. Most of the immigrants I ever knew, they couldn't even own one house. They were just renting rooms. They were flatmates. We couldn't afford a flat, not to mention buying it. And you've got all these immigrants owning all these houses in London, right? No, it's not like there's no immigrants owning 2,000 flats in London, but there are companies, private equities, massive, corporations having that. They buy a whole block of flats, they build those buildings, and they own it, and they put all those rules and costs onto us, on normal people, and then people start moaning, they start to blame someone, right? So then you have the government, and it's a great topic, immigration, to divide us, right? Constantly, they're just gonna use immigration as a one, and they're gonna say it's exactly the same as the illegal immigrants who are causing lots of problems for the country, together with people who just came here peacefully, have families, paying taxes, working, doing all they can to improve their own lives and the country. And it's like completely, that's insane. It's not the same. And that is exactly why I'm here, right? Because I can see it is not the same, and you guys can see it as well. It's like, we can't just expect this is it and just get on with it because immigration, right? And, we have this, and I think I watched the Gary's economics video about this. He talked about this private properties recently as well. And he very rightfully so, he's mentioned the false argument about we have not enough houses in the UK. And again, this goes with an immigration. Like, you have people claiming that immigrants take houses, therefore you can't afford your houses. But guys, right now, apparently, I just did a very quick basic research search on the internet. There's like more than 700,000 empty houses in the UK. Excuse me. It's like, I think ChatGPT said there's like 1 in 25 houses is free. Okay, it's a huge amount of empty houses. And it's not because immigrants came, right, and they just bought houses and they don't live in there. No, these massive global corporations, organizations, private equity, Chinese billionaires, whoever they are, they come in here, they buy those properties as an asset, as an investment, and they keep it. They don't care if there's nobody there. Some of them they rent, some of them they rent to you, but they don't care if you're there, because in the long term, that property will generate a lot of money for that person or company owning that property, right? Rather, for you, you're going to be suffering for a decade because you can't have a proper house. Guess what? They don't care about this, right? They're going to say, oh, you can't, because it's him. You see, Alex, he's a foreigner. It's his fault. Obviously not. And look, if you the blame on immigrants, it's very easy to picture to show it as a picture for somebody else, right? So if you are a person who's got not enough time or interest in digging into actual problems, like why is it this way? When you're being presented the picture of tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of immigrants coming over to the country, it's natural to connect it, and the way it's like, this is it. But if you at the same time you see all these empty properties across the UK and all these new buildings being built, they build everywhere. I mean, wherever you go, guys, anywhere, wherever we go, they're building more and more housing. It's clearly they're not building it because immigrants coming. No, they're building houses, therefore they bring immigrants. Okay, there's more, even more would be this way. So they want to make at least somebody to at least rent some of it. And then if you think about it even further, if the claim about immigrants being behind the housing crisis is true, that would mean somebody like me comes here with nothing, then I kind of somehow find a job, start earning some money, and somehow I managed to get a deposit saved, which is like what, 20 grand at least, right? And then somehow I can get the credit history, and then afford all these payments and everything. Like, no, immigrants coming here broke, they do shitty jobs, they try to get by, survive, and the best they can do is, the best immigrants I saw is like they're able to rent flats themselves. Majority of immigrants, the vast majority, are renting small little rooms from these big corporate organizations, landlords, who are just building houses and then renting one room and selling it for £100 a week or something, right? Or a month, sorry. which is like half of the salary, right? It's just insane. And it's got nothing to do with immigrants. They're just not there, they didn't come here to steal the room in East London or something, right? It's just, it makes zero sense. And there are things we could do in order to change it. But I feel like, I don't think there's a political power or political willingness in any political party to change it, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even Keir Starmer is a landlord, right? I think there was some drama recently that some Ukrainians did some damage to one of his properties or something. So they like the property business. It's quite easy, I suppose. You just park your money there. You just wait and take it out later when you sell it. You have your pension, right? And it's not. I can't see anyone who would be willing, apart from Gary Economics. I think he understands this problem fairly well. At least that's the way he speaks. I'm with him on that. I don't agree with everything he says about tax to rich and all that, but that housing problem, I think we're on a similar page. But it's very hard because there's nobody willing to actually go far enough to do it in politics, I think, and power. But what we could do potentially, and I had quite a couple of points out here in my notes. First of all, I would just keep it. We have to realize this is not an investment vehicle, right? It shouldn't be. Property should be just that. It's covering your basic human needs. So the better you're off, the better property you can afford. That's fine, but it's like it shouldn't be left out there empty as an investment. If it is, like if you really want to, if you're wealthy enough, then you would have to pay lots of premium to keep that property, because you will pay. It will be worth it in a long enough term, right? But I think I would say something like make the cap institutional ownership of residential properties, and I would even maybe remove, like, I don't understand, why do you have to have business around properties, right? Some people they will come and say this is just business, and as any other business, right? And I disagree, and I build businesses. Business is not always the same. If you building a business around owning a water supply, then I don't think we're in the same page, right? If you're building a transport business, I don't know, even educational business, some business, I don't know, making products, selling some product, that's a business. But if you want to build a house and rented it out and you call it a business, it's not, because it's a basic human need. Okay, we can't, unless we have 10 homes per one resident, then it's a business, because you need to make your house better than the other one. So I can kind of say, I take that one, the house next door, and then the next door are going to have to actually make me rent it or buy it, right? Where right now we apparently have not enough houses, so prices are increasing. That's not business. That's like extracting money from people. That's really evil thing, right? So I wouldn't call it business. You shouldn't be able to have a business as a property business. If you are a business which needs a property, you should be paying premium as well, in my opinion. And there should be a priority for people who actually want to live in that house rather than investments. You see, I've lived in one of the villages here in Cotswolds before, and it was a beautiful village, but prices got so expensive at some point, right? The locals, the natives, they got pretty old. They either passed away or they were just moving out because they couldn't live there on their own. So they were selling those old cottages where they used to live for like 30, 40, 50 years. And the buyers, most of the buyers in that one particular village, and they destroyed that whole thing about village, was where either private equity companies, like some investment firms from London, or very rich families from London who would come here just for like every weekend house. And I don't know, I would have to think about this, having your second house in the countryside. I get it, it's nice. But what I also saw, it destroys the local community, okay? Because you snatching at the house from the market because you can afford to have a second house where there could probably just as well come on, and maybe just as wealthy family, but to actually settle down and live there and start another cycle of people, building a community around there, right? So I'm not a fan of property portfolios and all that. I don't think we should be we should prioritize somehow properties for people who want to live in there. And like, if you want to stay there, you want to buy a house, that's fine, but you need to stay at least 5 years. Like that kind of thinking, right? Encouraging people to stay in. And if you don't want to do it, then you're gonna have to pay massive premium if you want to have this second house. And that should be, look, if you're wealthy enough and you can afford to have a second house and it's somewhere in Cotswold or anywhere else, great. It's nothing wrong with that. I congratulate you. But that means you're gonna have to pay more. You should not use that money to park it in the house and therefore invest over the next 10 years and then you just do some funny things with taxes. You should be put at the end of the queue and then in the line, every family willing to pay for that house the same amount should have a priority. And if you would say, oh, I pay double, I pay whatever, then that's fine, but there's a premium price with it because you are not gonna to live in this place. So therefore you're actually gonna, again, this is like with these big companies, like in short term it works, but because these people bought that house in that village, they kind of one or two or three or four or five, suddenly six companies and people are just buying this house. In small village, that's like 20% of all the houses. And the communities are falling apart. And these people who bought this house over the long term, that house is going to be less it's worth because they're going to be like basically Airbnb. Everybody's going to have Airbnb in Cotswolds, right? So it's like, there are still people here. They're lovely people, locals. They've been here for a long time, decades. And they like to keep it this way. And that's why it's very unique, this place, right? And there is like this, I know farmers who are selling their land to build houses for other people, and there were actually farmers I know who would say, look, they wouldn't sell their land to any private companies. They would just get an interview with whoever is buying it, right, and only families. And that is a great way, you see. And bear in mind, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in free market. I love these things, but it's very important to be able to actually. What we do is one thing, but we all people, right? It's like with politics, you're for against. Like, no, hang on. I can be for some bits and parts from your political system and your party, but overall, like, let's not put prices on everything, okay? Just because you can afford the house here and the farmer is selling, you shouldn't be able to buy it just because, like, that farmer, if that's his will, and I appreciate that and I respect that, he wanted to have a proper family owning that land. That's what he decided to do. And this should be this way, right? Because it works for everyone. And putting a price tag on everything is another big problem I see right now, especially with AI, all these billionaires, everything must be like perfectly and how much. Like, you can't price community, okay? But in the long term, it's priceless. That's what drives country. That's what makes country a country, what makes community safe, because people know each other. Not because I have neighbors who come here every 3 weeks from London when it's hot and they just have a quick party for 2 weeks, for 2 days, right? And then just, bugger off to London again. I never see them. I don't even know their names or something, right? Because they have their own lives back in there. That's not cool. I don't like this thing about this, villages around here and places, right? Because people do it. And I think that things shouldn't be priced. Like, you should not look. You want to do it, just go to a hotel, or rent it out, go for a weekend, and then just go back. And you want to move in, then move in properly, right? And that's exactly the same thing about immigration. You see, that's my mission. That's how I see it. Like, you can't be the part-time immigrant. Like, if you immigrated to a country, this is your obligation to actually assimilate. I made a video about this, right, the other day. Like, number one job for every immigrant is to assimilate to your best abilities, and it never ends as an immigrant, I suppose, right? You're gonna have to be you can always improve your language, you can always improve out something, and then you pass on this knowledge and your message to your kids, etc. And there's exactly the same thing with these investors. Like, you can't just come and be a part-time villager, right? Because you're destroying the village. Like, you want to do it properly. You want to be immigrant, do it properly. And I think that would help us, remove a load of problems. At least it would allow us to rebuild communities, which I personally believe is a good starting point to actually rebuild the country. Safety. This is my biggest one, which I recorded a video about this. And safety is built through people who know each other, communities, right? Because if I have my neighbors in London for 3 weeks, I don't know anything about them. That doesn't work well for my family or for anyone else, right? Because if somebody comes here and I need help, but they're not around, and vice versa. But if I know my neighbors and we know each other, we know our kids know each other, they play together, we spend time together, that is like family, right? If something happens, I grab the phone, I shut down, and I get somebody to come and help me. And that same comes up from me. So I think the immigration overall is not to be blamed for the housing. It's easy to be blamed as an immigrant because it's easy topic. It's easy topic to be to throw it out there, but it's very hard to talk about, right? For various reasons, as we know, especially you natives guys know, because it's hard, because you're going to be called names, blah, blah, blah. You can't do it. So they want to keep you quiet. I'm going to say it. What are you going to do about this? Huh? Well, I'm Polish. I can say whatever I want. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's like, I think it's not all for immigrants. There are some maybe, but there are no immigrants, landlords, as far as I know. They are big corporations. The houses are there with occupations or not. If they're empty, there's tons of empty houses everywhere because they're just investments. They're investment vehicles, and that's the problem. We're turning into everything. We want to turn everything in the society, everything between us, into a value and about money, right? And that's what it happens in tech. That's why I'm not, I can't. We're not going to stop progress, right? But you can see this with this AI, all these people in power now. They think everything should be just perfectly smooth, optimized, and priced, and all of this, right? Well, that's robots. That's slave. We're not robots. People are not human. Are not robots, right? You can't price community. You can't price a friendship. You can't like real one. You can't price, integration or something like. Yeah, these are the things, and I think housing is a big part of it. And it's a global thing. It's not in the UK. It's not anywhere. Every single country, as far as I'm concerned, prices are going up because the economy is going down, and the power of money is going down drastically everywhere. So it's probably going to carry on like this. But yeah, think about this. Let me know what you think. Like, if you really think immigrants are the problem, give me a counter argument to what I just said. Maybe there's something I don't know. And yeah, if you like this video, leave me a like. Consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for everyone subscribed already. Getting really a lot of support from you guys. Lots of subscribers coming in. It's good. That means it's important, right? It's something we need to talk about. And I'm an immigrant, so why not? What are you going to do about this? That's it. Let me know if you like it. If not, you can also let me like. Just be respectful, please. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you soon. Have a great day. Cheers.